Going on, guys? Big Joe here. Today I'm going over how to UV map with Zmod 3 for American Truck Simulator. If you liked the video, let me know. Thanks. And then go ahead and click it. And then select the top half. Alright, there we go. I'm going to make sure you have under submesh, you go ahead and do this. Detaches polygons from the object. Click that, activate it. Click your polygons. And that separates it. So now that's how you do the left and the right. But what we also need to do is get the top separated. So what we'll do now is we'll go here. Select them both. Polygon mode also. And an easy way to do it actually is, let me show you. You can go up here, you go to select, and you'll click separated. And this doesn't always work, but usually if it's a set of polys, usually it'll select them all. All you have to do is right click, and there you go. We'll go ahead and see what that did. So I hit the delete button, and you can see that's done the top part of it. That should be good enough, so I'll go ahead and go up back to the top. We need to get these also. Let's go ahead and right click and see what all it does. And you've seen it misses some of them, so I just have to go through and select them. So now that you have this selected, go ahead and go back and detach them. So the top part on the left side's done. Now we gotta do the right. Alrighty, now it's attached also. So there we go. That's what we basically wanted to achieve right there, is everything separated. So now that we have these two top pieces, rather than messing around with them, trying to get them all mapped at the same time, we're just going to go ahead and attach these two together. And boom. That is how we get the top, and that's how we get the hood separated. And you can see I did that with all of them. I went ahead and just kept the fenders. I just did it as is, because it makes it easier to paint them a color rather than attach to the hood. You can separate them, put them in its own box, and it makes it a lot easier. See on the cab, I've also separated it. I didn't do the top on this one because you can't really see the top. In the interior view, you can see the hood, so if the metallic flake is all messed up, then it's really noticeable. But the roof, you're really not going to see it. So yeah, you can see right there, I've went ahead and separated everything. And with the sleepers, I've also detached the back, so that it makes it easier to do the wraparound paint, and if I want to do a custom logo or whatever, it'll make it a lot easier. So now that I've got that all separated, we'll go ahead and start mapping it. Typically, any truck you do, you want to do all of it at the same time, because it'll make it a lot harder if you've mapped one already, and then you're going to go back and try to map it with the other one. Well, if those stripes are off by even a tiny bit, like say you're doing a stripe paint job, or any paint job really, if it's a little bit different, you'll definitely notice it. So the problem with Zmodeler is in UV mapping, it does not like to have multiple things, unfortunately. So it's going to take quite a bit. It took me, I don't know, 20-30 minutes trying to get this truck because it's very high poly. And even if you have a good computer, it may still be hard on the program just because of the program itself, not because of your computer. So now we'll go ahead and activate everything. And what we'll want to do is go ahead and left click it. We'll do one sleeper just to make it easier. Go ahead and get rid of the day cab. We'll do the 36-inch. So now we got the 36-inch all done up. We'll go ahead and select it all. Go to surface and then go to edit UV. Thinking too much about Call of Duty, I guess. So go ahead and do that, and we'll click it, and you'll see this. Typically, the UV channel 3 is what empty DDS will be assigned to, and that's usually what your paint jobs will be assigned to. Usually you have channel 1, which is the AO baking, and then you'll have channel 2. Use it for multiple things. You can use alt UV on that one. Sometimes you'll have to edit this one. You'll go to UV channel 3, you'll map that one, and then you'll have to go back, go to UV channel 2, but instead you'll just copy it from channel 3. But first we'll do the UV channel 1. Actually we'll do 3. So we don't want to copy it. We want to do from viewpoint. We'll hit generate new, and what we're gonna do is all of this stuff is assigned to its own material because they all have AO bake on it. So we want to force it all to the same one just to make it easier. Now it's not going to cause these to be mapped to whichever material you pick. It's just in UV mapping, it will assign it to that mapping just to help you. So we'll go ahead and click, let's click, we'll do glass just because it should show. So we'll force the mapping onto that material and we'll go ahead and hit OK. It'll take a minute to create the mapping and it's going to be laggy in UV mapping, unfortunately. So we'll click the UV mapping tab, we'll go down here to material and we'll click glass one. And you can see the truck is right here. You can already see how laggy it is. So we'll go ahead and attempt to move it. So we'll try to scale this down a little bit because we got to make room for the day cab, the back of the sleeper. So we'll scale it down about, let's try 60%. That should be good enough. Now before we get any further, I'm going to check to make sure that the rear has transferred over properly too, or else we'll just have to restart. So we'll deactivate all of them except for the rear. Go ahead and select it. We'll rotate it. Okay. So sometimes it won't go into UV mapping properly, and if it doesn't, you'll want to check your rear and left and right, because if they don't, sometimes they'll show up as a flat plane no matter which way you rotate it, and you won't be able to map it properly. So now that we checked to make sure that was mapped properly, we'll go ahead and activate it all again. Got it scaled down. We'll move this down a little bit. Alrighty, and there we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to deactivate the left side, because this will be where we're leaving the left side and we need to move everything else. So I'll get rid of the suspension and the rear. Basically what we're going to activate right now is the right side. Get rid of all that. And now the right side is activated. So we'll go ahead and select it all. I'm going to rotate it. And the axis you want to use is the x-axis, if I remember correctly. We'll go ahead and do 180. Hold shift when you click the object and this will pop up and let you do specific results. So we'll zoom out of here, and there we go, so it's rotated. So now it's rotated, and you can eyeball it to try to get it to be the same spot as the other one. For when you're doing paint jobs, you can just mirror it. So you can see about the length of it right there. We'll do that too. Alrighty. So now we got the right side up there. We'll go ahead and do the top. We'll activate it to the left side just so we can see where between we need to put it. Keep that. We'll keep that. There's the hood, and we'll go ahead and do the fenders also. Now before you select these, make sure you deactivate the left side just so you don't select any of the polys. Alright, now we'll rotate this. We'll do the same. We'll rotate on the x-axis, but this time we're only going to do 90. Oh, selected the wrong part. Let's see if I can get that selected again. It is not wanting to play nice. There we go. Alright, 90. And you'll see rather than rotating it fully, it has only rotated at 90 degrees to where we can see the top of it. We'll go ahead and move this down. Activate everything so I can see where to put it. Doesn't have to be perfect, but there we go. And now I'll go ahead and deactivate all of it, and we'll activate the fenders again. Because I want them to be a little bit separate from the hood so it makes it easier to paint. So I'll go ahead and move it about 10. I'll go ahead and do the same for this one. And if you want to pop that up as you're moving it, just hit tab. We'll go back, check the hood, and there you go, separated. So now I got the left, the right side done, and the hood and fenders done. We'll go ahead and work on the back side and the suspension. So we'll deactivate all of this. Go ahead and outline this, and we're going to rotate it. On the y-axis, we'll do 90 degrees also. Go ahead and move that to the left. And you want to make sure it's facing the right way. If I look at this, you can see this portion right here matches this. You don't want it to be on this side or whatever, because it'll be mirrored if you're doing anything that it's like text or whatever. I mean, if you're doing stripes or whatever, it's not going to matter, but if you want it to be specific, make sure you're mapping it correctly. You don't want to rotate it negative 90 degrees or anything like that. You want to make sure you do positive. So we'll go ahead and activate all this, make sure it's all lined up. And it looks good. Now say you're wanting to map a part to a template that's already been made. Well, what you do is you're going to go up here. Well, we mapped it to the UV glass, so I'll go back to the UV mapping real quick. It's probably disappeared. It did. Okay. Alright. So say this hood, it's not mapped yet, but I already have the cab mapped. Well, what I want to do is I want to find out which one's mapped to, or find the material that I'm going to assign it to. And this is only temporary, so go ahead and go to Material Properties, and say you're doing, you want to do it on, well actually, let's do this. If I go to Properties, you can see right here, multiple materials. So we'll go ahead and select just the fenders and see where it's mapped to. So it's mapped to the AO4. So what I'm going to do in here is go here and go AO, do the 4 just to find it. See if we can find it. So there we go, it's right there. And like I mentioned before, the way it's set up is usually empty DDS. If you want to figure out where to map your like skins and templates to, you just go into here, you go into wherever the truck paint's at, and you go to Detail 2, or wherever your empty DDS may be. This is how you figure out what you're going to map to. Sometimes people put this to UV channel 2. That's the old way of doing it. If it's updated to the newer game, it'll be UV channel 3. So you want to go here, click Detail 2, look where this is at. That's where you need to map to. Anyways, you want to go to Texture Map. If you want to map to a template that's already been made, click that. And I'm going to click Add, and you can see everything right here. These are the templates. So I'll go ahead and select 36. And there we go. I've added that to it. And remember what you were using prior to doing this. So, like I said, this is empty, was attached to this one. So make sure after you're done, you put it back, or else it's going to export incorrectly. So I've done that. Now I'm going to go back here. We'll go ahead and select all of this, because I want to map it to this. Click Edit UV. We'll go ahead and click this. And we can generate new. So I'm going to force it onto wherever I've attached that to. So we did this one right. Where'd it go? There we go. So AO4, so I'm going to force it to that. And make sure it's the same channel. Generate new. Click that. Now we'll go check it out. And you'll see now, this is a template I've already made for the truck. I've already mapped it. But this is what the template will look like. So say I want to try to get it to this. Well, the way you can do it, the way I usually do it, is I'll move it down there, get it to about the same size. I mean, this would be easy to do, but say the hood wasn't there already. You're going to move it down there. Get a rough idea. If you can use two views and look at it, and you can kind of compare where it all hooks up, compare the sizing, and then that'll help you getting it lined up perfectly. So obviously it's not lined up right now. Say I can't do that, it's getting too complicated to where it's not fitting properly. Well, you can do something else, and you can go on here, and instead of using the template, I can use a paint job, which will help a lot with lining up stripes and stuff. So I'll go ahead and go in here, and we'll use this one. See, I already had it assigned, but I might as well show you just so you know. So now that that's up, we'll go back here. And if you need to, it can be a pain. So if you're going to do UV mapping, typically save your project beforehand, so that if you need to, you can take just the cab and hood and all that stuff itself, detach it, export it, and then reattach it to your old file, so that, because sometimes you'll mess up the materials and stuff doing this. So as you can see, even though I have it assigned to that, all of this stuff is assigned to its own thing. So I can't really tell where the stripe's going to line up to be. So what I want to do is I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to assign it. Now this is where it's the fun part, because you can't see the material. I need to move it over. There we go. No, right, you can't still see it though. And that's the problem with this. So we'll go ahead and figure out where this is located. So what I'm going to do is I'll select this since it's already assigned to it. I'm going to see where it's showing it right there. The Bub Pete 389 glass mask. There we go. Alright, so we'll attempt to get to that one. Where was that at? Right there. So we'll try this one and see. Might not be it. Maybe not. Nope. Okay, so we'll go down again. Possibly. Yeah. It does not want to play nice today. See, maybe it is all. Nope, it's not. Still not assigned to it. Okay. Oh, there we go. And you can see that that's affected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable the AO real quick. And you can look at it. Make sure you keep the name. I mean, you typically won't run into this error. Usually, if people AO bake something, they usually use the AO bake on all of it. And it just so happens that this truck has everything separated. So go ahead and click that off just so it's not showing this weirdness on it. There we go. So you can see now I can see the paint job. Alright, so after that, we're going to go ahead and click this out. I can see what size to do. What we'll do is we'll scale it down. And you can see as I'm scaling, makes it bigger. So we want to make it smaller, so we're going to scale it up a little bit. And I usually only use this method if this truck didn't already come with a template, which it's not hard to make a template at all. But if I can't get it just right, I want to make sure it's perfect, then I'll go ahead and use this method. So you can see that's a little bit off, so what I'll do is I'll go to the top and I'll click X, which puts this right here, and that's where it's going to scale it from. So go ahead and do this a little bit. Let me just a hair. You can zoom in, and it'll do it really slowly, which makes it easier to get more precise results. And there you go. That does look a little bit off too, so we'll go ahead and move that down. It's just basically guessing. And it'll probably mess that up a little bit, so it's just working back and forth basically. And that's good enough. So now we have it mapped, and then we're good to go. I'll go ahead and show you how to make a template also. So say I already have everything mapped. I'll go ahead and open it. Open up the old one. So everything's already been mapped. We're good to go. We'll go ahead and hit this. Go to the air. And I want to do separate sleepers. So I want to make sure, say I'm doing the day cab. Well, first off, I'm going to select all the day cab parts. Go do this. Make sure you got everything activated. And I'll select it. Go here. And instead of hitting generate new, make sure you hit keep old mapping. And then we'll force it to any of these. It doesn't matter what it is, but we'll force it. Go ahead and do this. Click keep old mapping. We'll try again, see what happens. There we go. Alright, you can see, I'll outline it here since the color. You can see everything's already mapped. So what we'll do is, after you've done that, got it all up, set up, you'll click this button right here, Render UV. So say I've already got the hood, we'll do the hood this time. We'll edit UV, go here, keep old mapping. It is just not cooperating today. There we go. Try this again. Click Render UV. Make sure you have it set to wireframe UV. That's how you get your template. So I'll zoom out. You can select the size right here. I typically do smaller one. If you do higher, just like just now, it'll try to crash Zmod. This program, good for modding, not so good for anything else. So go ahead and click render right there. And boom, it creates your template. And then we'll try it again, see if it does it. Decab. Alright, so put everything on there. We'll try this again. And you can select whatever texture you want to on the background. Typically I do a color that is very contrast to the white, just so if I delete it, it's not going to delete the template itself. Let's go ahead and click render. There you go. You click save. You can save it as a BMP or a DDS. I usually save it as a DDS, so we'll try the test DDS. And there you go. So if I go back here and select this, and I'll do, let's just say, pick a random one. We'll click add and go back to the main screen. There's the test DDS. You can see it's red from where I selected the color, and it has the truck right there. So that's how you make a template. Not all trucks, or if it doesn't have a template, typically it's not already UV mapped. Usually people just throw it onto the thing as is. They'll just click UV edit and then they'll just leave it as is, just so that it can be painted. And that's typically why you'll have flakes that are all stretched out, especially around corners, hood, etc. That's why you separate the hood so you can do the top and the flake isn't messed up. And that's pretty much how you do it. I mean, I may have missed a step or two. If you watch the video back, you'll see some stuff, but I think it did pretty good on the basics. It's not too hard. It's just when you hear UV mapping, it sounds bad, but it's not really that bad. It's easy, and once you learn it, it opens up your world a lot, because this will allow you to add new parts, will allow you to create new parts, and you can do bump mapping and all that stuff, which is a whole other subject of its own, and I'm not going to go over that today. But that's the basics of how to do a UV mapping, how to make a template, and how to, if you don't really have a template and you want to try to line things up, the loading up the paint job itself and comparing that way is another good way to make sure you did it properly. Thanks for watching. I hope it helped you guys a lot, and if you're not already on my YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to that, because I will post up a lot more tutorials on there. Have a good one.